Right, kicking off our afternoon sessions is an exciting fireside chat with Brandie Deignan, CEO of Peer Healthcare. So hi Brandie, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, James. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you for asking. So look, right, first of all, what I want to know is, tell me a little bit more about yourself and the work that you do at Peer.
Okay, so I joined NHS Primary Care at Peer Health Group as CEO earlier on this year, sort of January this year. Prior to that, I had spent 21 years, thereabouts, in the consumer service delivery industry, specifically around hospitality, retail, and aviation. But of course, James, I didn't always know what I wanted to do. I rocked out of university like most people do, with absolutely no clue for my life at all. But I was really lucky. I had a Saturday job at one of the Hiltons in London. And I remember finishing, I think I graduated on a Thursday. And then I took myself to the People Services office on the Monday. And as I was going up the staircase, I met one of the directors. It was one of those super duper big hotels where the directors kind of just used to pop in and out. And we had the usual conversation. Hi, Brandie, how are you? How was uni? Now you're finished, what are you going to do with your life? And I thought, well, that's why I'm here. I'm here to get some more hours. And then he said to me, but have you thought about the graduate program? And I thought, oh, no. And I said to him, well, I'm going to look for a proper job. So I don't think it's for me. Anyway, he kind of smirked and went, why don't you go and ask about it, and then when you get yourself a proper job, you can leave it. And of course, James, 21 odd years after, I was still in hospitality up until beginning of this year. So yeah, it's been a long journey, but now in healthcare and absolutely loving it.
Well, it's such a cool thing to come from the hospitality world into the healthcare world, because of course, looking after people is what both areas do. And so, of course, that diversity of experience must be really good. And the question I've got here actually is about diversity. Diversity and equality, so important within organisations. Tell us a little bit more about your perspective on how you're helping organisations and the industry as a whole become a better landscape.
Oh, well, so my take on diversity and equality actually is distinctive, purely because I absolutely categorically believe that diverse perspective inspire great collaborations. I really believe that. I don't actually look at it from a single lens. I truly look holistically at all the visible and invisible facets that make yourself, James, I, everybody else around us so unique, allowing penetration into any organization. And of course, to bring it right back to why we're here today and today's conference agenda, penetrating the shifting trends of any customer engagement and transformational journey. The objective for me here actually being to be able to harness the power of organizations and how they can engage their customers everywhere, every day, be it internal customers, i.e. the teams, or external customers. So in my view, it is really important to look at all the facets that embody diversity. So I'm talking ethnicity, I'm talking gender, I'm talking age, nationality, mental health, disability, sexual orientation, culture, neurodiversity, socioeconomic status, religion, parenthood, and of course, care and responsibilities as well. Because I think by factoring in these facets into the customer experience and engagement and into business operations, what you do then have is organizations who can have a real and measured account of exactly where they are today and what they're doing well. Because what you can then do is look at ways and means of moving plans significantly towards identifying the areas that the organization needs to work on and areas that they obviously doing amazing work. So I think for me, diversity and equality and how these shift into customer engagement is about organizations stepping up and looking at where they're doing really well, where they can elevate and shine, and of course, where they need to pedal a bit harder for the ensuring that there's equality for all customers internally and externally. And so my encouragement to organizations that I have had affiliations with and supported in this space, there's always been for everyone to look at a scientific approach to this matter, and then maybe spearhead and support and elevate customer engagement, as well as continually doing the right thing and the purposeful thing, because after all, that's why we all get out of bed each morning.
Yeah, I love that, because there's so many facets that make up who each individual person is, and there's the intersection of all the different things that make up a person's identity. So, I mean, the next question I've got is about the fact you're a female and you are leading the way for other females in the industry. But of course, you're probably going to have faced some challenges along the way. Can you tell us a little bit more about the challenges that you're facing? Maybe give us some advice out there for people that are facing similar challenges or want to help alleviate those challenges.
Well, what challenges have I faced? Thank you for asking that question, James. It has been tough. It really has been. But it's been decades of storms and challenges. So let me just walk you through the decades of it then. In my 20s, I was a bit naive. You know, I was almost in the mushroom club. I had no awareness of what was going on around me and zero environmental radar when it came to the challenges that female leaders face. I had no ties, plenty of flexibility. I managed to maneuver my way through the workplace. However, looking back now, there were some real casual cruelty along the way. You know, I picked up roles that no one really wanted, used them to my advantage, of course. I tolerated a lot of unkind behaviours from others, choked on a lot. But, you know, that's what you do to get by in your career when you're in your 20s. You're just indispensable and you just don't see stuff around you. So it wasn't in my face. But it wasn't until I got to my 30s, James, that I realized the intensity of the challenges faced by women in leadership. I had my kids then, I was less flexible, I had a bit of work experience, so I was a bit fussy in terms of the roles that I would say yes to. I had hit mid-career, and now that's the thing. And I began to see the physical barriers, you know. There were the old sort of unregular late evening meetings slotted in the diary where I physically couldn't get to. There was the early morning starts, childcare challenges. It all kind of sort of came at the same time. Whilst all of this was happening, I was also going through some personal unscrubbling moments myself. You know, I was tackling imposter syndrome. I was navigating others away from actually halting my success. I was still toying with trusting my own voice. I was learning to speak up and finding my own voice and making sure that I understood the shifting of word choices to ensure that I was noticed. I was learning and struggling to step inside spaces where I had no access to. So it suddenly got harder and harder, James. And most women in the audience and listening today will actually identify with this list. Now, even today, in my 40s, I'm giving a lot away, but even today in my 40s, after 21 odd years of experience, I still face leadership challenges. Of course I do. But now they are covert rather than overt. And I have the capacity and the capability now to support these challenges at a distance. And I stand ready and I stay ready for them. Because you see, I'm quite comfortable being a female leader. I have no desire whatsoever to change this, to emulate or mimic male leaders. It doesn't excite me. I love being girly. I love being a girl boss. I enjoy using my feminist skills, which are unique to me, to enhance what I do or work daily. But here's the exciting thing. You know, not long ago, James, 2/3 of young people used to drink drive every week. Not long ago, smoking was allowed in hospitals, in planes, and in schools. I mean, you'll choke now if you saw that. And until recently, Brits wasted 7 billion plastic bags every year. You're probably wondering, where are you going with this? Well, bear with me, let me land. What I'm trying to say, James, is social change is possible. You know, there are no social change fairies. It's all of us. We can all affect change. And I can feel the winds of change blowing. So my advice is twofold. one to organizations and one to others. But I think for organizations, this is what I say. Young female leaders need to have access to boardrooms too. They really do. We need to mind the gender parity gap because it's getting larger and wider each day. We need more female role models, and more importantly, we need to showcase those female role models because you just can't be what you can't see. We need to raise aspirations, especially in young girls. We really need to elevate that. Management and leadership development must start early in organizations. We need to encourage career goals, and we need to really encourage diverse career goals. We need to stay alert to the mid-career attrition. I think it was Forbes, actually, that recently produced a document that said 32% of female leaders leave their organizations at mid-career. Now, 32%, that's huge. And I think we need to feed the talent pipeline and break down barriers, carry on with the whole newfound ways of working from COVID-19. I think we need to work around those flexibilities and keep them. And some of my biggest cheerleaders have been my male colleagues. And so I encourage more male leaders to help women breeze into any male-only spaces, because there are still quite a few of them. They're quite subtle, but there's plenty of them around. And I think organizations need ouch moments. They really do, because ouch moments are good. Why? Organizations need to be quite uncomfortable with all male leadership and all male boards and so on. And these moments allow us to pause, take it all in, and then reboot for the better. And I think a couple of advice to female leaders out there, just stay focused, don't get derailed, go for the kill, follow your dreams, utilize your connections, I would say. Utilize your connections, and your connections, because this is all cyclical. Because I think your world turns when you connect the dots of all your connections. And the final thing I'll say is that to female leaders is that your story grows as you grow. So don't give up, keep going.
Such amazing advice, not just to women watching, but to everybody watching there. The next question is about non-binary leadership. So I've kind of got two questions when it comes to non-binary leadership. One is, what is your stance on it and how can it make organisations better? And number two is, what is it? Because I don't know.
Yes. So non-binary leadership is about leaders who can lead in several sectors. So I personally don't buy into that all or nothing pigeonhole type sector specific leadership. That's so 1940s. Nothing wrong with the 1940s, but times have moved on. So cross-sector experience helps self-development. We all know that. Building upon experience in one sector with work in another exposes leaders actually to a new set of factors that potentially impact on the industries they work in and the organizations they work in. I think the more leaders who are comfortable to be acutely led by different sectors, because that's what happens when you switch sectors, you are led by the sector. But the more leaders who are comfortable to be led by that acutely, the better the world would be for all of us, the work world, that is. I think for organizations, having a diverse range of experience allows thinking and ideas from one sphere to the other. So what you tend to do then is you apply non-traditional approaches to problem solving because you're taking them from one sphere to the other. And I think having access to broader pool of leaders in organizations really help the organizations to attract talented employees joining, because non-binary leadership is cyclical and it really thrives on role modeling and confirmation bias. So the more incoming talent see cross-sector leaders, the more attracted they are to an organization. And that's what really excites me about non-binary leadership.
See, that's so cool because, like, I work in the customer experience world, and one of the things I love about customer experience is it doesn't really matter where in the world you are, and it doesn't matter what industry you're in. Customers only speak one language, and that happens to be experience. And from what you're saying, it sounds like good leadership is good leadership, no matter where it is. So, and I mean, you're proof of that, moving from one industry to another. speaking of experience in industries, the next question is about asking you about your experience within hospitality, retail, aviation, and then healthcare. So what are your experiences with that?
Okay, so firstly, can I just say, James, all these sectors are absolutely invigorating. They really are. They're fun, they're fiery, they're fast, they're ferocious, they're fabulous sectors to work in. But more importantly, these sectors are actually interchangeable. And let me explain. Let's start with aviation and healthcare. Safety in aviation compares to safety in healthcare. Convergence and divergence of safety-related behaviours across aviation and healthcare really emulate each other. You cannot afford medical errors. You just can't. Or patient safety mishaps. You just can't afford air collisions that are planned, can you? And you can't afford piloting errors or compromising passenger or customer safety. Aviation has been around hundreds of years. Healthcare has been around hundreds and thousands of years. These sectors, these two sectors are connected. They do connect. Now let's look at retail and hospitality then. Leveraging technology in both of these sectors is essential. Both customers in these spaces expect more and on demand, and that's even going to get worse as we kind of carry on the years ahead. Market positioning is a priority for both retail and hospitality sectors, as we all know. It is important that both sectors learn what they stand for in their customers' minds, and then tie a consistent experience around their brand. So very, very similar, two similarities there. These two sectors also blossom, as we know, in fantastic atmospheric conditions. You know, it's all about the space they're operating in and the atmosphere they're working around. So, you know, all these four sectors, what I've found is that they're allied. And when you look closer, I mean, when you really look closer, you realize that they are one of the same. So healthcare can learn from aviation. Aviation can learn from healthcare. Retail can learn from hospitality. Hospitality can learn a lot from retail. Retail can learn a lot from healthcare. Healthcare can learn a lot from hospitality. Hospitality can learn a lot from healthcare. Retail can learn a lot from healthcare. These are all good circular industries that are intertwined, especially when there's cross-sector leaders who can actually carry on and almost copy and paste the learnings. It results in an absolutely perfect cocktail.
Amazing, amazing. Well, last question now, and it's hopefully going to be a good one to end on. What is your experience relating to leadership outside of the London bubble?
Oh, I mean, I love London, but come on, I tell you what, James, I'm so pleased that the G7 is coming to Cornwall. That's a big tick there. The London bubble needs to be deflated, and I would deflate it alongside the Paris bubble, the New York bubble, the Berlin bubble. You know, the London bubble has traditionally acted as a geographical and emotional barrier, stopping us from getting under the skin of the rest of the country. We need influential grown-up conversations about this to start smoothing out and balancing growth, margins, and operationality elsewhere, so that we can decode this for brands and organizations, for actually them to understand that leadership is leadership, doesn't matter where you are. But London is seriously, seriously busy, fast and deep. Organizations, I feel, ought to really rethink and utilize our regional hubs more and bring leadership into the hubs. The world has moved on since COVID, and so the London bubble needs to simmer down now. I just cannot wait to see this really, really change, because I think it's important, and I'd like to see organizations downplay the bubble and start really finding tomorrow's next normal outside of London and in our regional hubs from a leadership perspective.
I couldn't agree more. Look, thank you so much for your time today. It's been inspiring. I know everyone at home is going to have been inspired too. Just thanks again.
Thank you, James. Lovely to see you. Thank you.